Hey everybody, it's Theresa here of Larkin Design, and today I wanted to share with you a tutorial. This is for the Sahlin Studio blog, so be sure to check out her blog. I will link below for the full blog post, but I wanted to share a tutorial about how I print my hybrid layouts. When I do a 12 by 12 layout, I like to use templates such as the one that you see here. This template here is the March featured template on the Sahlin Studio blog. And so every month they do a free template and then some challenges that are related to that template. So this is the template for March of 2018. And what I like to do is use these templates to help me create 12 by 12 layouts. And then what is nice about using templates like this is that because each one of these blocks is a clipping mask, I can clip the journaling cards, the photos, or patterned papers just to these blocks and then just print what I need. And so I wanted to show you what that looks like for me when I do this. What I'm going to do is share with you in this portion of the video, I'm going to share with you the digital portion of creating the layout, and I'll show you how I lay it out on the page so that I can print it, and then I'll take you over to my worktop and film my process video for adhering the different layers. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to start out with here is I'm going to turn off these embellishments here. Those are suggested placements, and of course, if you want to put embellishments there, you can and you should. Since I'm going to be embellishing using physical embellishments, I just turn those off. And so then what you see here is that there are 6 opportunities for photos and journaling cards. I also went ahead and turned the background layer to a unlocked layer so it becomes layer 0 because I'm going to use that as a clipping mask as well. And so I have 6 opportunities here for photos and journaling cards that I can clip to the black and gray rectangles to create my layout. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my photos here. I have 1 vertical photo, 2 kind of squarish photos, and also a horizontal oriented photo. So I'm going to pick photos that will sort of fit into those orientations here. So my focal point here, my main photo, is a vertical photo. And then I have a couple of supporting photos here that will be in the smaller rectangles. So I'm going to just do a couple of light edits on each of these photos. What I like to do is, of course, they need to be cropped because these were taken at a different aspect ratio than 4:6. So, but before I crop, I like to brighten just a tiny bit. And I also like to sharpen the image, and then I go ahead and crop it to 4:6 with a 300 ppi. And then you can Control Z and Control V in the photo into your template, or you can drag it and drop it. So once you have the photo in the layout, you can see here that I'm just going to hold down the Shift key and drag the corners of the photo until it fits the best way into that clipping mask. And then once you have it dropped into your template, you can right-click on the photo itself in the Layers palette. Let me get this to that point and I'll show you what I'm doing here. I wasn't sure with these 2 photos which one I wanted in which rectangle or in which clipping mask. So I'm going to bring both of them into the layout and then make that decision. So let me just make these quick edits here and then drag it and drop it into the layout. So now I have both of these photos here, and I decided to go ahead with the placement that I had decided. And so you saw there, I right-clicked on the photo and you hit create clipping mask. And then again, holding down the shift key and dragging the corner of the photo so that it fits best into that frame. And so those are my supporting photos. And notice how I have a combination of photos here. One, the focal point of this layout is this vertical photo here that primarily focuses on Addison. This is our son. And so I want the focal point to be about him. This layout is about him. It's for his kids' album for his growing up years. So that is a great photo for the focal point here. And then the other 3 photos show a combination of him participating in the class. So you can see sort of what his relationship was to the other people in the class, in the classroom itself. So once all the photos are in place, I can bring in the journaling cards and the pattern papers. So I've got 2 opportunities for journaling cards or filler cards, and I also want to do a pattern paper. And I decided to bring in 2 options here. This gray pattern paper and this more teal and navy. This is what the teal and navy looks like as the background. And then here is what the gray looks like. And so I wanted just a little tiny bit of pattern around the layout just to sort of envelop this layout and create a good boundary for the layout itself. So for now I'm leaving them both there, and then I want to finish up, and then I'll make that decision in a little while about which pattern paper I end up using. I chose 2 journaling cards. Also, this collection is the Sahlin Studio Like a Boss kit. So, of course, I'll have all the links included below and in the blog post for you to be able to grab these products yourself. And so I really liked how the orange gives a little pop of color, and this Be Amazing card balances the text on the right-hand side of the layout. And so obviously this is a boy layout, and so I'm going for a little bit more masculine here, and I think that those 2 cards fit that bill perfectly. I am adding a little drop shadow to both of those journaling cards, and you'll see why I do that in a minute. You could also add an outer glow to those. That will help with printing. And so be sure to stay tuned for why I do that for my printing. You can probably figure it out already. But once I have all the photos and the journaling cards in place, I'm going to fill in my text here. So I dragged that text box up a little bit, made it a little bit bigger, so that I would have more space. I didn't know exactly how much I was going to write in that. And so I'm just filling that in here a little bit. And then I will pick back up in a minute with the live version so that I can share with you the process for laying this layout onto a 13 by 19 sheet of paper to print it. That is what I use in my large format printer. So let's take a look at that process here in just a moment. Okay, so I've I've written out my text here, and you can see how much of the space I've filled up. And what I think I want to do is line the text up with this line on the pattern here, and then the text can go possibly, or the title can go across this bottom space here. So let me go back into my move tool, and I'm just gonna drag this down. Trying to keep my margins here. There we go. Okay, and this is a way to cross some boundaries and tie some elements together. So with that, the layout here is complete. You could absolutely add a title here and print this layout just like this, and it would be wonderful and it would be perfect. For me, as a hybrid scrapbooker, I really like to print the elements out and add physical embellishments. Now, if you're curious to see what the other background paper would look like, it's that. Which isn't terrible. It's not bad. The lighter teal in here coordinates with the teal walls that were in the space, but it does darken it a little bit. So I think I'm going to go with the gray here, and I'm just going to delete that alternate there. Now, what I want to do is I want to make this canvas 13 by 19. I'm going to print this on 13 by 19 sheet of paper in my Canon Pixma. I highly recommend Canon Pixma. They do an excellent job with printing photo paper and things like that. So I want to show you how I want to fit everything on the page so that it can be printed. So first, I'm going down to the lowest layer here, and I'm going to click Add a New Layer. And then I'm going to slide that underneath that layer 0, and I'm going to go up here to canvas size. And for canvas size, I'm going to make it 19 inches wide and 13 inches high. And that will give you your overall print size for your photo paper. And I'm actually going to print, let me fit this to the screen and then bring it in just a little bit smaller. I actually am going to print my photos on photo paper first. This is strictly preference here, you guys. I like photos to be printed on photo paper that's sort of a little bit glossy, just so they have that feel of real photos. So for the purposes of this print job, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the photos off. Let's see. Not that one. That one. Not that one. That one. And that one. Okay? And I'm not actually going to print these blocks here, but here's what I am going to do. Let me move all of this, and this takes a little bit of juggling here, but hopefully you'll get the idea. I'm going to slide this over so that it is pretty close to the edge. And then what I want to do is, let's get this plus its clipping mask and move it over here. And then the same with this one plus its clipping mask and move that over here. Now I'm going to leave those drop shadows on there so that I know where to cut these cards. And then I don't want these to print, so I think I can go ahead and turn those off too. We'll come back to the photos here in just a minute. Okay, and then I'm left with the pattern paper and the white mat. What we can do so that we know where to put everything is I hate to print all black because that uses up your ink. And the purpose of doing this is to conserve ink. But what we can do is let's go into rectangle mode. Which one are we on here? This one. And go into a light gray. And then click fill. Well, you didn't do it. Just pick a light gray. A real light gray. Like just dark enough to know what you're doing here. There we go. Not that. We have to click on that. Duh. We have to click on that first. Okay. Then just make all of these light gray. Okay, and that way you have it marked. You know where your photos are going to go. So I'm ready to print this sheet just like this. Now, I'm going to also throw a couple of embellishments from this collection onto the sheet so that I'll have a few of the elements to add on the physical layout. So let me, I like that accomplished, and I like the like a boss. Here's some labels. Ew, I like that one. And just sort of picking ones that I like. No real, nothing very complicated here, just simply picking what I like. I do like this look at this thing too. Okay, let's open all these up. Okay, and then go back into the template itself. Close out those 3x4 cards and then pull some of these things in. That. There we go. And I'm just going to drag and drop each one of these in here, and then I'll have some choices to work with when I'm embellishing the layout. And this one, I think I want to put on the journaling card itself. So let me zoom in here a little bit. And just let that live on that journaling card. Okay. Need to move that. And then what I might do here is just draw a little rectangle underneath that. Let's do no fill and a little stroke on it so that I know where to cut it. And I think I'll leave it a little bit long, so if I want to do a flag on the end, I can. Alright, that's a bit dark of an outline, so let's pull that back a little bit. There we go. Okay, that looks good. And now this is ready to print. Okay, so I recognize that everyone's print screen probably looks a little bit different here. I am in the Photoshop print screen and I am using a Canon PIXMA IX6820 printer. And I love this printer. I'm not affiliated with Canon. I'm not paid by them. I'm just a happy camper, happy customer, and like using my Canon. So I go into the print screen and select 13 by 19 size photo paper. I use the glossy photo paper setting every time. That's the only setting that I can find that prints it at the actual size that I need it to print at. And so then you can see here on my print preview, it will come up here in a second. There on the print preview, how that layout and the different elements look on the sheet. And so I'm just going to send that off, and then I'll show you how I print the photos. Okay, so I have this printed out, and now I'm going to share with you how I want to print out my photos. And so this is a lot less scientific, but basically I'm going to turn on all of the photos here so that they appear. Okay, and I think that this falls into an 11-inch margin, but just in case it doesn't, let me move this little guy up a little bit. And it looks like this has fallen out of the clipping mask a little bit. So let me make sure that lines up as well. All right, I think that's good. Okay, and then I'm going to go into my print screen here, and I'm going to tell it to print just this portion on 8.5 by 11 photo paper. So let's pick a different sheet size. I'm sorry, my computer is just so slow. But here we go. So let's do 8.5 by 11. And again, this is to print on glossy photo paper, borderless, blah, blah, blah. And I'm relying heavily on my print preview here. So once it registers that I just told it 8.5 by 11, I'll be able to center it on that page. Let's do a vertical orientation. Eventually. Okay, there we go. And then I can go in here and do a left margin of 0. And I think that that will print beautifully. So let me go ahead and do that, and then I will see you at my worktop. Okay, so welcome to my worktop here, and I thought you might like to see the photos printed out again on photo paper and how they line up with the layout itself, and then the layout printed. This is also printed on photo paper, but it's matte photo paper, and how beautifully that turned out. And so I'm going to just take my scissors and trim everything so that it's easier to handle, and then I will use my paper trimmer to get straighter edges. I'm also going to cut and punch the elements that I printed so that they'll be ready. I also went into my stash to pick out some physical embellishments. Those are from the Crepe Paper Good Vibes collection. I really like this, the pack of puffy title stickers. I guess they're puffy. Puffy or epoxy titles. So I'm probably going to use those. And there's also some chipboard embellishments from that collection. And we'll see what other goodies I pulled out from that collection. And so just trimming everything out here. This is where having the drop shadow or having some kind of rectangle around these journaling cards helps with the trimming out when you're printing white on white. So I knew exactly where to trim everything out. Here are the photos. So they, of course, are automatically sized the way they need to be sized just from printing at 100% via the printer. So quick trim around all of those, and then they should fit perfectly into the rectangles on the layout. And so I know this is definitely like a little bit of work, right? But I think it's nice to have the layers here, and just to have the textures. I really like the interactive element of scrapbook layouts. And so the template itself is great for planning a layout. So I know the layout is already planned. When I go to embellish it, I don't have to worry about where am I going to put my photos, where am I going to put my embellishments. I already have that planned out thanks to the digital template. And so digital templates can work like sketches in that way as well. If you're doing an all physical layout, just use a template as a sketch. So trimming out the rest of this layout here, and then once I have that, I'm ready to embellish. And so here is everything, the photos, the journaling cards, everything is laid out on here. I'm just going to adhere them down really quickly. I did not use the little gray rectangles for the journaling cards. That's fine. If they were bigger or if there were more journaling cards, I probably would have printed out those gray rectangles, but it worked out fine here. So, and I don't want to, the whole purpose of printing is or my whole goal is to conserve ink. So the fewer things that you have to actually print on your layout, the better. So here we go. I'm just working with the embellishments now. And of course I have a couple of the printed elements from the Like a Boss kit. I'm just going to play around with those. I need a spot for the date for this layout. And so I'm thinking that I'm going to put that above the text box. And I'm trying to figure out what word I want to use or what title I want to use. And in the end, I went with goals. It was just big enough. Of course, it fits with the layout itself. That's number one. But it seemed just big enough that it sort of goes outside of the white boundary and but also ties in with the text. So I really like that. And then here I'm going to put my date on the little label here. This is another reason I love printing out my hybrid layouts, because then I can use my stamps with them. And then a couple of little embellishments here. I'm just sort of playing around to see. Now I will give you a little side note. I take apart, if you notice, this star is a chipboard star from the Good Vibes collection. And what I like to do is take my chipboard sheets apart. This is something I just recently started doing, and I'm really liking it. And so what happens is when I get a sheet of chipboard, I like to take all the pieces off of it, remove the adhesive backing, and just put them in an iris case. I find that it's easier to use them that way. I can pull them out and move them around the page and then just use my glossy accents. There's my iris case with the Good Vibes chipboard. I know it's shocking to take apart all those chipboard sheets, but I actually really like it. So they're like die cuts on steroids now. And then just for the last thing here, I'm going to add a couple of enamel dots. I felt like the white background still needed a little something to tie it in with the other embellishments around the page. So just a few enamel dots here. They work almost like paint splatters, but they're very organized and very deliberate splatters here. So that's an option for you if you don't like to use watercolor or other things like that. And with that, the layout is done. So thanks for watching, you guys. I hope you will like and comment and subscribe. Be sure to check out the Sahlin Studio blog. And I'll see you back here again soon. Thanks again. Bye-bye.